TruthSeekah and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast.
Gargoyles, psychics, everything's ungodly. Dark Savage.
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian.
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark sided stuff.
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah podcast. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. It's going to be a good episode. Pretty much a continuation of the last one that I did. This is 100 episodes in review. I did the first 50 episodes and kind of gave a little commentary on that. Some background information about where I stand with some of the guests and the first thing that really comes to my mind with those episodes. So I was able to get to the first 50, and it took me 2.5 hours to do so. So hopefully I can get through the second 50 and a lot quicker, you know. So yeah, if you haven't heard that episode, go back and listen to that one and then maybe come listen to the second 50. But yeah, this is what we're doing, just giving a little commentary on that. Gotta say a huge thank you to all the Patron supporters who allow me to do what I'm doing. I do this now for a living, do my music and podcasting full time now, and I couldn't do it without your help and support. So thank you to everybody who is supporting, everybody who's been supporting, and I want to give a special shout out to the newest patrons over here in the community right now. We have Janessa Whitting, Yumari Abreu. I know I slaughter these names, guys. Joanna Joy, Jesse Ewing, Matthew Abel. Guys, welcome to the family. Welcome to the community. Thank you for believing in my work and what I'm bringing to the table. Thursday nights, School of the Mystics is what we're doing too. You get access to that by becoming a patron. That's something that's really cool, really fun. Essentially getting together with the community. We're doing a couple different courses right now. We're in the midst of doing the basic training for prophetic ministry by Chris Valatin, and it's been really good. We're about 4 weeks into that. Really getting to know one another has been beautiful. Doing these courses, studying the prophetic, and then creating a safe place for us to move in activation, practice prophesying over one another. Some people, this is brand new to them, but I tell you what, maybe it's because it's from the privacy of their own home. I don't know what it is, but we're jumping right into it. And even I was a little nervous just getting into it as well. Because the separation of time and space or whatever, and not feeling like you're there with the person, but it's been beautiful. We've been jumping right into it, and people are prophesying for the first time, learning to be led by intuition, by the voice of the Holy Spirit, what God would say to you. And everything we've been talking about following your intuition and being able to hear the voice of the Holy Spirit or discern spirits on people. You hear this stuff in your inner ear. And so we're practicing on speaking that stuff out in a safe environment. Thursday nights at 7 p.m. By becoming a patron, you get access to that. So make sure you check that out because that's been phenomenal as well. I'm enjoying that. I look forward to it. Also, by becoming a patron, you get access to my entire discography, which is 10 plus albums. All the new music that I'm doing right now, it's already uploaded to Patreon. You get access to all that. Even when this album is released, I'll be putting more new exclusive music up there for you guys because I couldn't do it without you. So I think you guys should be privileged to it and hear early mixes. And there's stuff I'll put up there where I just need feedback and I need somebody to talk to. So I'll put it on Patreon and get your feedback. If I should change something, if something's too loud, those type of things. And it's really cool building with you guys and having another ear to hear your own music because I don't really have a big crew of people or a big studio full of people who help me with this stuff. So you guys have come into play when it comes to that. So that's been really cool. Bunch of cool stuff. Have an album release party. The album pre-order is available right now for my new project Seer. The album release party is coming up on April the 20th, and it's a free event. If you can make it out, just pay for gas and board, and then you don't have to worry about getting a ticket or nothing like that. And come hang out with your homie TruthSeekah. Come kick it with a mystic. I'd love to meet each and every one of you guys. And so all that information is on my website, TruthSeekah.com. And so, yeah, thank you for everybody supporting my work, believing in what I'm doing. With that being said, there's no end in sight. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, interviewing people, bringing some knowledge and information to the table. And, yeah, all that good stuff. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into this episode and get into some more commentary on these past podcast interviews and see what's up. So, starting with episode number 50, Diesel Automatic, Spirituality, Life, and Success. Diesel Automatic's a really cool guy. I've got a couple songs with him, a couple features. He's been featured on my project. I think we've done some stuff for the Voices album. And then I'm on some of his stuff as well. So Diesel Automatic, really cool guy. That podcast, even though I know it was over 3 hours, but I'm looking at it right now, 3.5 hours. It's like probably the longest one I've ever done, the Diesel Automatic interview. So it's a really cool one. We got in there's some good stuff in there, and I think somebody tagged me in an Instagram post of them listening to the podcast, and I think they were actually listening to that episode. So yeah, that's a really good one. Diesel Automatic's a hip hop artist, and he raps about I guess he's got some spirituality in there now. He's more of the political stuff, Illuminati, the government, gun control, like that kind of stuff. He's a vegan now, so there's he's doing a lot of vegan rap stuff, which is cool too. But there's this transition that I took, and I find a lot of people taking as well. We talked about it in that episode, because Diesel started out just being strictly political rapper and doing rallies and marches and stuff like that. But I think that only gets you so far. Eventually, you find out, look, you can rally, you can protest all you want. There's not really changing much these days. So I feel like the natural progression in that is to take care of oneself, like do your own spiritual work and then change yourself, and then eventually change the people around you by working on yourself first. So I think I see Diesel doing that stuff in his own life, and he's doing more spiritual hip hop now. That happened with me. I went from Christian rap and kind of got into some political stuff as I was studying it. Like, it just naturally came out in the music, and so I do more spiritual hip hop, and then so he's doing it. And there's other people. I know Vinny, VTP, he's one of them as well. Kind of the same path that it takes. So going from political for years, and then it gets more spiritual. So that's just a path there. So episode 50, Diesel Automatic. 49, True Hallucinogens, The Magic of an Alchemist, Drew Gower. Drew Gower is one of my best friends, really good friend of mine. That episode's beautiful. He's the one who's gotten me into psychedelic mushrooms that for the first time. It was because of him we used to be in a band together. We played in a band called Prayers Fly Like Bullets. I used to do screamo and rap vocals, so it was like a Korn and Limp Bizkit type feel. I was the front man. We were in that band together. Drew was pushing 400 pounds until he had his come to Jesus moment, and we talk about it in this interview where we went on a psilocybin journey together. We had a powerful connection, and then he read The Alchemist, and like I talk about, like that combination, magic mushrooms and reading The Alchemist, like it's a beacon for change. Like there's no way you can like remain the same, you know. And it's really interesting, and I want to do a whole presentation on this, man. We talk about like magic mushrooms changing you and helping you find your dreams and your calling and giftings and things like that by going within on that journey. But there's another part of it too that I've been coming up with, that they say, you know, magic mushrooms cures depression. It does. There's so much study behind it, clinical studies even, right? But I think that it can either cure depression or it can cause depression. And I think that it kind of does both at the same time. Like you can't really go deep in on the psilocybin journey and see this dream for yourself and the person that you want to be, and actually coming out with all this beautiful stuff that you want to do on your life's journey, and then you go back to bagging groceries at the job you've been at for 5-6 years, you know, and you really can't see it. So from that place of getting the dream, getting the vision, and then walking into manifestation of that vision can take years, can take months or whatever. So if you don't follow that, it can lead to depression, because you're like, man, I want to be a musician. I want to be, and it happened to me, I want to be a podcaster. I want to heal people. This is why I want to do this for a living. I don't want to be stuck at these jobs and like feel like I'm wasting my life. And if you don't move, if you don't do something, it can lead to depression. So I want to go into a little bit more detail and talk about that on another episode. But that's a real good one. I love Drew. Great story. He was 400 pounds. He got his vision. He weighs less than me. I think he's like around 180 or something right now. From 400 pounds to 180. Changed his diet, and then started a campaign called No Days Off. He's in the gym every day. So it can be done. 400 pounds to 180. And so much stuff opened up for him. We talked about it in that episode. Make sure you guys go check that one out. Episode 48. I'm going to give a quick shout out to everybody in the chat room holding us down live first. It's like Crow, I think. The chat's kind of small. Christy, what's up? Hunter Fuse. I got mixed feelings on Diesel, but he's a good artist overall. What's your feelings on Diesel, bro? Andrew, Danny, what's up, Danny? How you doing, brother? And then Hunter says, Hunter Fuse, he says, if those mushrooms do that, where can I get them? Where can I find them? Where can I get them? Danny says, mushrooms help me start exercising. Yep, use the power of the mind. What's up, Brandon? Brandon says, do some research, Hunter. You can find them. They're not that far. Follow a cow for a couple days. You'll find some. Right? What's up, Christy? Episode 48. Really, Hope Medford from the group Medicine for the People. Spiritual energy and music and the divine feminine. This was a really good episode. Medicine for the People, the group that she's with, Nako Bear. Transformative for me in my life, on my spiritual journey. The big groups that did it for me, there was a couple of them: the Lost Children of Babylon, Conspirituality, and I definitely can say Medicine for the People took me to a whole nother level in my journey and became the soundtrack to my spiritual awakening, just like my music is a soundtrack for many of you listening. So it's really cool. I got to connect with Hope Medford. We did this interview. I met her live some years ago at when I went and seen them in New Orleans for their concert. We had been talking on Messenger. Finally got a chance to meet her at a concert. We hung out with her, Nako, in the group. And then we did a song together. We did the song I Return. This is the lady who's rapping and singing in that song. So Hope Medford, what she brings to the table is amazing. She's an awesome percussionist, really understands the power of music, and she's connected, man. She zones out and goes to another place when she's performing, and that's the stuff I like. It's awesome. So we talked a lot about the divine feminine, the feminine energy. She served and serves still as a midwife of helping people bring in their children into this earth in a spiritual manner, in a manner that they're the transition is beautiful, and they keep it spiritual. And really what she does is it's amazing. You have to look into it. So that's a really good episode. I love Hope. Episode 48. We're talking about doing a second podcast because so many people like that one. 47 is an episode with Illuminati Congo, Manifestation, bringing the dream realm into reality. I love that dude. I try to give him a shout out as much as I can because when it comes to dealing with spiritual hip hop, I've been doing this for a while. A lot of shady people, even in this line of work or this art. But Illuminati Congo is the real deal, man. I really like that guy. We've done several songs together, and yeah, I really like him. That was a good episode. Still waiting on some footage back to shoot a video for our song Angels Among Us, which is one of my favorite songs to date, which is on Watchman's album. It's us three. So yeah, hopefully you'll see a video. Message him, tell him to send us the footage. Number 46, TruthSeekah breaks down Flight of the Navigator. It's one of my songs, Flight of the Navigator. Those breakdown songs, I just go into the meaning of the lyrics and what the songs mean to me. Flight of the Navigator is named after a movie from the I want to say 80s, early 80s. And I watched it when I was a kid. Really cool UFO movie. Check it out. 45, Judy Messeline, the lady who built a UFO watchtower. If you build it, they will come. She's out in the desert, and she built this huge platform to go out there and hopefully signal UFOs that they would come and land and summon them, or whatever you want to call it. This lady out in the middle of nowhere, she built this huge station, and it's a bed for a lot of tourists and stuff, people passing through. They go out there and they just sky watch, and they've had a lot of spiritual encounters and stuff, and they've seen a lot of craft since they built it. I think she tried what she's doing is very similar to James Gilliland and what he's doing at East Eddy Ranch, and there's some other people who have done it too. So really cool lady. I found her off of a Vice documentary. Vice did a documentary on her, and I found her. I was like, look, I got to talk to this lady. So shot her an email and had her on the show. That's how that works. Episode 44, Leaving the Church to Find God, Larry Reed and V. Terrell Buddha Hill. Really cool guys. They have a show called Larry Reed Live, and they just go live on Facebook talking about current events, music, the church realm, stuff like that. They came out of the gospel music industry, and Larry Reed was a pastor as well, and Buddha was with him the whole time, Buddha Hill, and they've just been growing together, and their spiritualities have kind of brought them out of the church. So they were kind of in a very similar path to where you were a Christian, but you come out of Christianity, but you still have a love for Christ and a love for God and things like that, but you just can't function with the foolishness that goes on in a lot of these churches. So really cool to connect with those guys. They're very funny, and I love to laugh. So yeah, really, really cool guys. 43, the Nephilim, Fallen Angels and Demons of the Bible, Gary Wayne. That's exactly what we're talking about, the Nephilim. Gary Wayne is an expert in that field. I will say this, though, because I try to give you the first thing that comes to my mind with these interviews, that I was kind of nervous because guys know I don't like to debate on these shows. I like to kind of find common ground with my guests and build on top of that. And I didn't want Gary Wayne to know my stance on aliens or what they call aliens, because obviously Gary Wayne is a Christian theologian, and the majority of people from the Christian perspective are going to say that aliens are demons. I mean, that's just a very narrow way of looking at it. I looked at it that way for a long time until I started doing research outside of Christendom. All the Christian experts say that they are, demons and fallen angels and stuff like that. So I was kind of nervous that I didn't want to go into a lot of details about aliens. Like, he may have brought it up and I was like, oh, yeah. And I just tried to change the subject just because I didn't want to go down that route with him. But I can teach it and I can debunk it as well. So they say, okay, aliens are fallen angels. No, aliens are aliens. Fallen angels are fallen angels. They're completely different things, right? 42. Healing from sexual abuse and childhood trauma. Chris Duthridge. Chris hit me up, and he had been listening to a friend who had been listening to the podcast and showed him my music and stuff. And he first hit me up by putting a comment on my video. The video was Esoteric Agenda, my rap song. And he was asking, he was like, okay, I love the Jesus stuff, but where's all this Kundalini stuff, right? So they have asking questions about it. So I just hit him, hey, it's blah, 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 blah. This is what the Kundalini is. This is what it means. This is the Holy Spirit, that type of deal. So he wanted to come on and share his story. So I like to give people a shot, man, because I remember, like, me, and even now, like, I get messages from people who I get bombarded with messages, and some of them are, hey, check out my song, brother, what you think? I really would like your feedback. And even though I am busy and I do have stuff going on, like, I try to give them the time, even if it only takes 2 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I'll listen to it, give them a quick critique, and give them some feedback, just because I know how it is to want to connect with people who have more reach than you have, or have a bigger platform, and they're too busy and they blow you off and read your messages and don't respond and stuff. So I still deal with those people. You know what I'm saying? So I like to kind of have that karma there, essentially. Like, there has been times where I reached out to bigger platforms who had no idea who was, and I had a story that I wanted to share, and they let me come on their show and tell my story. So, when people who I've never heard of, or just random people, hit me up and they do have a story, and I say, look, yeah, you can come on, we'll talk about it, definitely talk about it. So it was a good episode, man, an emotional episode, and it lets you know, man, that, God believes in second chances. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th chances, man. And that dude has had a rough life, and now he's living a good life and got his life on track. So that's episode 42. 41, The End Times, What You're Not Being Told, Chronicles of the Apocalypse. Brian Godawa. Brian hit me up some time ago to do an episode. I didn't know who he was. We never did do the episode, I think, because it was when I was just back and forth, like, not really taking it serious. Like, I love to do the podcast, but I love to do music, and all of this stuff going on. It had all of this stuff going on, and so I finally had a chance to do that interview with him, and really good. We talked about, I think it's called Pretism, where it talks about, like, the rapture and stuff in the Bible that's already happened. Like, all that stuff in the Bible, as far as from, like, a historical standpoint, in the New Testament, it's already happened. All of these prophecies about Jesus warning you that, hey, I'm going to die, they're going to kill me, but when I die, this is going to happen. You guys need to head to the mountains. You guys need to do this, do that, giving them these prophecies. And it happened, and you can kind of go through history. 70 A.D., the destruction of the temple, Christians being hunted and killed for game, killed for fun. And it always blows me because, like, a lot of Christians and Christian theologians, they're waiting for this coming tribulation that's going to come, this attack on Christians, where you're going to have your head cut off if you don't deny Jesus, they're going to kill you. And they're waiting for this stuff to happen, like it's to come. But my stance on that is a huge disservice, because you're belittling what's already happened. Like, this stuff's already happened. They hunted Christians. They killed them for fun. Like, they were crucified and they were beaten and fed to lions and made to fight lions and stuff like that in the Colosseum. And they went as a sport. Like, this was done for sport. Nero, which was the Antichrist. Like, all of this stuff, man, it's all you got to do is do your homework and just quit trying to interpret the Bible to Western Christianity. It's not the same thing. You got to do your homework. So Danny agrees with me. Bro, I did a lot of study and realized all the prophecies already came true. I know, man, it's deep, especially when you can go back and pinpoint them. I like to look how the prophecies come true spiritually as well. You know what I'm saying? Like the return of Christ, which is sending forth the Holy Spirit, that he comes and dwells in the temple. And the scriptures tell you that the temple is not built with hands, that your throne is your heart is the throne of God, and God will come back and sit upon the throne. And it talks about the Holy Spirit filling all believers and all children. And this is Christ coming back. Like, I love to look at it that way, and I'm pretty sure that's the explanation for it. Like, everybody's waiting for Jesus to come back and part the clouds and come, but he's already come back. He lives inside each and every one of us. So that was a good episode. Number 40, ODD reality, or odd reality, conspiracy theories, spirituality, and religion, fact versus fiction. That episode, I had just a lot of people who really like this guy, ODD reality. Like, I didn't not like him, I'll put it that way, but I'm not really into conspiracy theories. It's a huge market for it right now. I probably, if I wanted to be successful, would cover more, but I don't like theories, man. I like truth. You know what I'm saying? And I went off on a rant in that episode where I talked about, like, people just making up theories. You can't prove it, and it doesn't help anybody. And I talked about the harm that it causes, especially causing to the family. Like, you know what I'm saying? It gets into some really weird territory. And I talk about that, you know, all these people talking about the Sandy Hook is false flag and it's all fake, and all these other like every school shooting's fake. And, you know, if you're right, you're a hero. You're like, you know what? You stood for truth to the end of the day. You stood in the face of opposition and you didn't buy into their narrative. Like, you're that kind of hero, but you really ain't changing nothing. You know, you're trying to, I guess. But if you're wrong, you know, you're a very rude individual to say that, no, your family didn't die. It's all kind of stuff that goes on with these conspiracy theories. It gets insane. I'll try not to, and this guy's made his living. He's made his market off of conspiracy theories, and I've been there. I've been the Alex Jones type when I did some political music and stuff, exposing the Illuminati and all that kind of stuff. But I will say this: if you want to get out of jury duty, which I just got summoned for jury duty yesterday, and I went. I didn't get selected, but I will say, if you want to get out of it, maybe this is what helped me. But I did it as a joke, really. But they send you a questionnaire and they ask you what type of bumper stickers you got on your vehicle, and they ask you, where do you get your news from? And I put on there, I get my main source of news from Infowars.com, and then I said I get it from, and then the bumper stickers said like Trump or something. I don't know. So, like, yeah, I didn't get selected, so I did have to go down there though. So episode 39, Charity Croft, The Universe, Consciousness, and God. Charity Croft made a big name for himself on Facebook, where he talks about is the universe God, or is there a God, or whatever. And so he does this little well pieced together rant about the Fibonacci spiral and all of these things in the universe that kind of prove an existence to God, and he condenses it with music in about 3 minutes or whatever. And it's got like 5-6 million views on it or something. He got really big off of that. I had the chance to interview him, which was a pretty cool conversation. The only bad thing about this episode is it's only 47 minutes, because this is the part 2 of a 2-part series, and we lost the first part, which was the best part. We lost it back when I split my episodes up, and I was doing the second hour was for members only. So was able to salvage the second hour, and I threw it up there because it was still a good conversation. But yeah, we lost the first hour, so it's really good. 38, Spirit Talk, Roundtable, TruthSeekah, Michael Basham. This was like a second interview I did with Michael Basham, just hanging out talking with him. And I want to do more roundtable discussions versus just me with one other person. I want to do more of just having a couple people on. So Michael Basham is a really cool guy. Like I said, we're on the Fringe Radio Network together, and he's just a really cool guy. And it's really cool to kind of share my fan base with him and my audience, because like I see a lot of people, as I mention his name and share his work, I see a lot of people commenting on his stuff and paying attention to it. So he's a really cool guy, sweet spirit. Really, really cool brother. So, 37 Keys to Manifesting Your Dreams: The Law of Attraction with Jennifer Castellari. Jennifer hit me up. She designed an app that helps you keep track of your goals and dreams and visions, and it has reminders and how it reminds you and helps you. It's like a vision board app that helps you to bring the stuff to your memory. So it's just not scattered everywhere. So you can have a reminder when to think about it, just to be reminded and have it there in between your eyes and see it and speak it and confess it. So she's her app is growing, just getting pretty successful with it. And it's a really cool way to help keep your dream in focus and in vision. Because I'm telling you, like, you can start something and get so scatterbrained and get so bogged down with chores and just the day-to-day where like you forget about it. A week has passed and you're like, man, I haven't even done anything to take a step towards my dream. And so just to bringing it to the forefront of your consciousness is a huge step. And then have practical things you can do as well, like writing stuff down. And she talks about that in that episode. So that was a really cool one too. 36 Watchmen: Ascending Jacob's Ladder, UFOs, Aliens, and Music. Watchman's a peculiar person, man. I love him. He's my brother. I helped put out his album. I've been growing with him for years, man. He's grown with me. He's kind of left Christendom to kind of do what I'm doing type deal. I love him. He's all over the place sometimes, especially in that interview. It's kind of hard to make sense and kind of stay on topic and stuff. He's an awesome artist. He's a good rapper. And yeah. So supposedly, like I helped produce his album and promote it, shared it with a lot of you guys. There's some really good songs on there, man. And but he didn't really do much promo on it. He says, I'll give you guys the backstory on this. He says when he's able to go full time, like I'm full time, then he'll promote it and he'll have time to promote it. I don't believe that, but that's what he says. So we'll see what happens. Allie says Matt's wild. Good dude. That's what he says. When he's able to go full time, he'll promote it, but I say you can't go full time unless you promote it. Like you have to do both, 35 Jed Payne, Overcoming Addictions, the TruthSeekah podcast. Yeah, I interviewed Jed Payne. We were both members of the Bad Christian podcast group. This was another podcast that I used to listen to. The band called Emery. I used to be really big into Christian metal back in the day, and Emery started their own show, and they're beer drinking, cursing Christians, and they just kind of call it what it is. They talk about a lot of the holes in church theology and make fun of church culture and things like that. So met him in that group where he had his own podcast, I had mine. So we just took turns connecting and interviewing each other. So he interviewed me on his podcast, and I in turn did the same thing over here. So if you want to go, he's got a podcast called Church and Other Drugs, where he interviewed me on that show. Really cool. But then on this one, he talked about overcoming addictions. Like this guy had been, I think I'm gonna say 16 rehabs, in and out of drug rehabs and treatment centers and stuff. And yeah, really interesting episode. 34 Adam Starseed Bay, ET contact, astral travel, and remote viewing. Adam Starseed Bay, man, he was a patron. He found the podcast, found the music, and became a patron, started supporting. And through that, we started a friendship together, messaging back and forth on Facebook and on the Patreon group and stuff. And seeing what he was doing, seeing the vision he had, said, look, we need to come on and talk about some of this stuff. So he goes live and talks about the same stuff I talk about. So let's do an episode together. So we did an episode showcasing what he's into and what he's doing. So really good show. Adam Starseed Bay. Number 33, Practical Shamanism, Native American Spirituality, Royce Gay. I like to connect with people who were already doing something, right? Like, I like obviously we deal with no-name people who have no fan base or have nothing going on. I enjoy that, especially if it's just an interesting person who has something to bring to the table. I kind of enjoy that even more if nobody's ever heard of them, and that the first time you're hearing of this person is through my work, and it's such a good episode. Like, there's definitely those episodes. Royce Gay has a pretty decent following on social media. He goes live and he rants and stuff on his Facebook, and he gets a lot of Native American people watching. Maybe it's because he's on the reservation, I'm not sure, but we did an interview together right before Thanksgiving, and he was just all over the place. It was hard for him to stay on subject. I don't know if he was, I'm just being candid, I don't know if he was on pills or something, like he was on some type of opiates or whatever, because he did talk about having pain and stuff, but it was just really incoherent the majority of the time. There was some gems that you can pull out of that interview, and what I'm telling you is my experience, and then I've got those messages too. They're like, that guy didn't make a lick of sense. Like, I couldn't follow him. You know what I'm saying? So I did get that from some of the audience as well. Number 32. From Juggalo to Jesus Freak. This was an interview with Jay Payne. Jay Payne's a really cool guy. You guys know I do have a lot of interviews with Christian rappers. I come from Christian rap. I feel like I can help them in somewhat to kind of watch out for some of the pitfalls if that's what they're, feel like they're called to do gospel music and stuff like that. But I come from that culture. So, and I also was big into Insane Cloud Posse, the ICP. So that's a good episode. I definitely recommend this one. And it switches it up a little bit. So it's not all spirituality, aliens, meditating, Jesus. Obviously there's some talk of Jesus, but we talked a lot about music in that too. So that's a good one to listen to. We talked about the Insane Clown Posse, their influence on both of us, and leaving that stuff alone, and then all kind of stuff. So episode 31. I got to talk a little bit in this episode. This was Sacred Geometry and the Flower of Life, the Act of Reawakening Consciousness with David Hopkins. David Hopkins is a cool guy. That joker can talk. He talked the majority of that hour and a half. I didn't get to talk much. One thing that stands out to me is the fact that we talked about soulmates and having soul ties with your twin flames, and like I'm big into marriage. I talk about this a lot. I've been with my wife since I was 14, and I'm 34, and so he talked about like having multiple twin flames, and once you grow old or that person just grows old, you can just leave and get another twin flame. You don't have to have one your whole life. I didn't agree with that. I just said a little bit of something on it, and then he just kind of talked over me. But that was one thing that stood out for me, that episode, that you kind of find these theologies and stuff and these belief systems that cater to your lifestyle, whether it's biblical or not. I mean, you find theology and doctrine and stuff to back up what you believe. Obviously you wouldn't want to, and this is natural, you wouldn't like try to obtain a theology or doctrine that goes against what you believe or what you're doing. Many people do that even in Christianity, and they end up chasing their tail for a long time. I did it, right, in Christianity, and a part of what I was doing I thought was wrong or was told was wrong, or the backlash that you get from people shows you that it's wrong or whatever the case is. And so you're kind of left in this place of being double-minded, in a state of confusion, because you never can get this thing down. You never can bring yourself to agree with a doctrine or a belief system, and you're just chasing your tail the whole time. So that was something that was talked about in that episode. Episode 30, the spirit of authenticity, seeing God in all life. Chris Bars is in the chat room right now, hanging out. Really good episode. We talked about we took a family trip and a spirit tribe trip. A bunch of us took a vacation up to the mountains, man, up in Tennessee, and Chris and his wife came. to that, and Christy Lee and my family. We just had Jessica and Jeremy, some good friends of ours. We had a good time. We only spent about 3 days there, but had a really good time together hanging out. We talked about that in the interview. Talked about his spirituality, coming out of Christianity and still dealing with the backlash and trying to let that go. So we talked about that, and that's just a process a lot of people have to go through, and it can last years. Even Chris has come strides away from walking out of Christianity and what other people think about him. Till even I think earlier, I'll just put this out there, being candid. We had a little conversation on Messenger, and it was kind of still coming out in his speech. So it's there. It's probably still there for me a lot too, right? It definitely is, and it may always be there. You may never fully get over some of that stuff, man, because some of these people, meant the world to you, and you spent so many years around this belief system and doctrine and stuff like that. So it gets hard just to kind of walk away from it and just forget it all, right? It's a process, man. So one thing I will say about Chris is really cool. He's been with his wife for a long time, and they were a young couple that got married, and they're still together, and they have a beautiful marriage. And I love to see that, man. I can't tell you that, like, when I was in church and stuff, when me and my wife got married early, like all the other teenagers or young adults were trying to get early because it was like a fad, like we did it. And some of these marriages lasted like 2 months and stuff. Insane. And see people get together and last a month and 2 months is insane. Like they would go through a wedding and do all this stuff. Marriage is magical, man. Marriage is special. So I really appreciate to see young people who put value in the marriage, and that's something that I believe Chris and Nicole do. They're definitely a huge inspiration to work through the stuff that isn't easy to get over. They just kind of work through their problems, and you don't grow apart. You know what I'm saying? If you fall in love with somebody, even though it gets rocky, you don't just trade them in, man. And those guys are really, really cool, and I appreciate their marriage and what God's done in their hearts. So check out that episode. 29, DNA activation, the Fibonacci sequence, and 144,000. Third Eye, Joshua Friedman. That episode with Joshua Friedman, it was a decent episode. A lot of controversy around that with me, because after that episode, I've talked about this openly. Like I don't deal with him anymore. He's the one who threatened to sue me. We did the episode. He kept plugging, name dropping, Jason Westerfield, which was like his mentor, who's like the super spiritual Christian guru guy, who's now into New Age, and he's kind of left Christendom. He's in a New Age, but he supposedly was close with him for some years and knew him ever since he was a kid, things like that. And then we mentioned his name. And his face lit up, and he just goes into stories talking about Jason Westerfield. Nobody's heard from Jason Westerfield in a long time. He's very secretive of what he's doing. He's transitioning from Christian to New Age. He's done a couple engagements. He charges a lot of money to hear him speak, all of this kind of stuff. And Joshua and his crew are waiting on waiting to do a conference with him so that they can be the one that kind of platforms the first official Jason Westerfield thing. Okay, so we talked a little bit about that in the episode, and then he talks about this experience he had with Jason Westerfield, where they're communicating back and forth telepathically, that he's met these blue orb-like beings or whatever, and Jason Westerfield already knew about them, and just some interesting stories. Like, I like to hear people's stories. So I made the clip of my episode. So I like to, if I do a clip with Jordan Maxwell and Jordan Maxwell goes on a rant for 15 minutes about Manly P. Hall, I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to say Jordan Maxwell talks about his love for Manly P. Hall. I'm going to throw a thumbnail on it. I'm going to make a clip. It's going on YouTube. More people may watch that than the original 2-hour interview. Some people don't have time for these type of shows, right? Everybody's different in the way that they consume media or podcasts or entertainment or whatever you want to call it. So I did that with the Jason Westerfield story. You know, Jason Westerfield and the Blue Beans. Is it going to get clicks? Yes. People are looking for Jason Westerfield material. But when I uploaded it, I had a picture of Jason Westerfield. It just said Jason Westerfield and the Blue Beans. Telepathy and the Blue Beans. And you click it, and it's a story of Joshua speaking about his interaction with Jason Westerfield for about 10 minutes. He just ran it. He gave me the content. And then when I did that, they asked me to take it down. I was like, bro, you need to take that down right now. I was like, I worked hard on getting this. Like, I made a dope image. You know, I took this time to cut it out, mix it down. It takes a lot of work to do that stuff. He told me I needed to delete it. And I was like, why, bro? And I didn't delete it right when he told me to. Then he got real forceful with me. And that dude sent me like 30 texts back to back. Take it down now. Jason would not appreciate this. Jason's going to get mad. I have to get his permission. It's like, how do you have to get his permission by you the one who shared the story with him? Like, this was your story about him. He should be delighted that you lit up, your face lit up like a Christmas tree to share your experience with him that changed your life. Why you have to get permission from him to put that up there? So he just kept on, and then he got real forceful with me. He's like, you need to take it down now or it's going to be some serious problems. I'm like, hold on, now you're throwing threats, bro. Like, I'm from the street too. I ain't a killer, but don't push me. And so he was threatening me. And then he threatened me with a lawsuit. And then he got his other friend, Laurel, which is his other weird, crazy new age chick. She, did the same thing. She's like, that's his like partner or whatever. So she's messaging me like, you need to take it down. We're getting the law involved and, you're going to be sued and we're going to sue you and take everything from you. I'm like, you know what? Y'all can have it. Y'all beat me. I wasn't going to take it down, but they started threatening me like that. So I was like, you know what? I don't have time for no lawsuit, dealing with these people, whatever, taking it down. I took it down, deleted it from YouTube. I did make a Facebook page on it. Not Facebook page. I made a posting on my website about that clip just because that helps, when you blogging and keywords and stuff like that help getting your material out there. You have to learn SEO, search engine optimization, to be able to blog so that people can find it. I took the video down. I did not take the web page down. The web page so if you type in Jason Westerfield now, I think I'm like the third article. When it was like pages down, and I'll get a lot of traffic still to my site. They don't get that clip by itself, but they get to listen to that interview or the episode that comes from. So that episode is still there. And so that's still there. I get a lot of traffic from that. Even this morning, somebody emailed me asking me where the interview was and why it was taken down. And I just showed them the clip that it comes from. It's taken from this interview. But, after I took it down, I said, hey, bro, I'm sorry, man. I still want to be friends with you. Love what you're doing with the podcast. Would love to come back on and share more. I got so much more to share with you. I'm like, nope, you're done, bro. Sorry, you're done. I blocked him and that other chick. And it's like, you threatened my livelihood. Like, you threatened to turn my lights off. You threatened to shut my podcast down. You threatened to, whatever. Take everything I have. I don't have nothing for you to sue me for and take what I got. And dude threatened me with a lawsuit, throwing threats. And then you still want to be friends. You still want to hang out. No, sorry, brother. Yeah, stay away from those people. You got to be careful, man. So after that, I started making a lot of the guests come on and kind of do a intro spiel with me before we go live, saying that TruthSeekah has rights to edit my podcast into segments and release segments for promo purposes and stuff. I've started making people do that before we go live, and having them saying that on record recording. So yeah, you live and you learn, though. You got to cover your tracks. Just because somebody claims to be spiritual, just somebody claims to be a Christian, you can't just take that and run with it, man. These people they got ulterior motives, man. They, everybody's different, bro. Be careful out there. 28. Alien abductee, the greatest UFO story never told. Giant rock, Chad Meek. It was funny. Chad Meek hit me up through a service that I signed up for, to like where they send you potential guests, and he hit me up that I was a show looking for guests, and he wanted to come on and talk about his alien cases, this place called Giant Rock, where he grew up and had all this UFO contact when he was a child, and he says it says the greatest UFO story never told is what he calls it. He's wrote a book. He's trying to write it into a screenplay and stuff. But I said the audacity. How do we know that this is the greatest UFO story never told? So I just messed with him on that. But it was a decent interview. Check it out. He's making his rounds into the podcast circle, doing interviews on that. Pretty cool episode. I like him. 27. You Deserve a Perfect Life. Creating the Life You Love. Paul Levin. That was a really cool episode. That was a fun one with Paul Levin. He talked about essentially the power of manifestation, creating the life you love, you want for yourself, visualization, all of these practical steps to kind of get to a place where you want to be, no matter where it is, whether it's a job, a career situation, a spiritual outlook or view of the spiritual person that you want to be in life, practical ways to do that. So that was a very fun episode. I definitely recommend that one. It was really good. That's number 27. Number 26, Coy Third Eye Opener. That's my second time interviewing Coy and expanding consciousness through natural plant medicines. Coy, he has a huge Instagram following. He always gives me shouts out. Every time he does, man, I get hundreds of followers from him giving me a shout out, because he's got over 50,000 followers on there. And he's, my music helped bring him to the path that he's on now. So he kind of pays it forward, just kind of getting my stuff out there. It's so funny. He's like, man, why you don't have as many followers? Like, I haven't been consistent on all these platforms. I tried to build Facebook up, man, and then Facebook turn around and bite you on the butt. I got 14,000 Facebook likes, and it lets 7 people see your post. That's awesome. When it first started, it definitely wasn't like that. They changed the algorithms and stuff. But Instagram just changed their algorithms back. Now I'm starting to get some activity on Instagram where I only have like maybe 2,500 or so followers, but I get more interaction on Instagram now because they just changed the algorithms where they'll actually let the people see your content, without having to actually pay for it. So they need to go back to that on Facebook, man. Facebook's falling apart. And YouTube as well, if we didn't have if we had an alternative that was decent and enough people would jump on board, like we would jump ship ASAP, because YouTube and Facebook with all these censorships and stuff like that, it's getting insane, man. Getting insane. Number 25, Brian T. of Kingdom Music interview. Brian Trejo. That was a good interview. Brian Trejo is a Christian rapper, and he's one of the ones who's doing it right. He's doing it full time. He's traveling. Huge tour schedule. A lot of people want to do what he's doing, and so we try to talk about some of the ways to do that and approach it, to do it the right way. And the dude's legit. He blew up on World Star a couple years ago by doing this song for his brother. He had a twin brother who died, and they filmed themselves singing this song, him and his cousins and sisters and all these girls and stuff, doing a tribute to his brother who was murdered. And it went viral on World Star. So I think he kind of used that to kind of springboard him to a larger audience. So really like what he's doing. Number 24, The Spiritual Power Behind Music, Andy Songbird. Andy hit me up from listening to the podcast, and I hadn't heard of him before. He showed me some of his music and stuff, so I was like, you know what, let's do it. So had him on. Also had Michael Basham helped me with the interview. He was like my co-host for that episode, and that was fun to kind of do that. So yeah, we talked about some interesting stuff on there. Talked a lot about dark energies and demons and stuff too, and the way demons get a hold of people through music and through trauma and stuff like that. So that was good. Number 23, Summoning Angels Through Ceremonial Magic, Nikolai Jones. That was a pretty good interview. Like he's been following my work for some time, and that was one thing that I asked him, that he's got into angel magic and stuff, and I talk a lot about summoning UFOs and summoning angels and summon ETs with my signal ETs with my laser beams and all these little stuff that I throw on my music. So I asked him, I was like, look, bro, it's like, did my music influence that? you know, because I get like from a lot of my Christian conservative Christian audience, they'll say, hey dude, your music's teaching people how to do this, how to do that. So I asked him, you know, if my music had any part of him doing that, and he kind of vaguely said yes. You know, it's definitely influenced him. You know, you couldn't say that it didn't, but in a good way. He started out on a bad path and then had to learn, because he was summoning demons and doing like demon magic and stuff, and then he got into ceremonial magic, summoning angels and the angelic. So we talked about that. He's been following my work since definitely 2012, supporting it. So that was a good interview. The bad thing about it, the audio was really choppy. I think he's in Australia, and so it's the other side of the planet, right? So I think it was like 2 a.m. or something like that, or midnight or something when we did that on his end, and it was just like 10 a.m. my time. So the audio got real choppy. I had to cut it short, but I feel like that once I cut him short, the message I brought forth was good. I really resonated with that and got a lot of feedback from after that interview too. So that was a good one. Number 23, summoning angels through ceremonial magic. 22, TruthSeekah breaks down the lyrics to his song Meditation. It's exactly what that is, me talking about my lyrics to that song. 21, evolving spiritually, mysticism in movies, cartoons, comic, and anime music. This is an interview with another person who's been following my work for some years, Witch Boy, Josh Chanel Foster. Yeah, he's a hip hop artist, really cool. He's into anime, he's into spirituality, esoteric stuff, and he kind of blends all that within his music. So I like when people bring something different to the table, and he definitely does. And it's really cool, especially when you have these people like I've been doing it for so long. I have people that I've influenced, you know what I'm saying, and you can hear your influence in their music or even in their work, you know what I'm saying, and it's really cool to connect with people and inspire people. Number 20, Jordan Maxwell, Aliens, UFOs, and the Kingdom of Heaven. That was a better interview with Jordan Maxwell. It was pretty good. Talked to him